as a candidate, you might say, okay, I'm sending this CV. If I send 100 applications, mass applications, it doesn't work anymore. And I've read somewhere it's like sending confetti into the wind.
I think the way we are seeing it, and we see it on LinkedIn and through also our reports, is that you will need somehow to pivot your skills. So your job might actually not be lost, but just evolve.
What it took me 5 years to learn, they can learn in 3 months through prompting, through AI. They have access to the world's full library of information, and it can be distilled and refined, and it's at their fingertip. So that's what I mean by the big equalizer.
Do you think, based on the data and what you've experienced, that employers in this region, particularly the UAE, expect the perfect profile because they can have it?
Applying only to a job and doing nothing else should be your last resort. If you reach out to the hiring manager once the job is already posted, it's already too late. So ideally, you want to talk to people even before the job is posted.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of For Those Made to Do. Today we're super excited to talk about a topic that Mandy and I care very deeply about and that we've been meaning to approach for a long time. We've received a lot of requests from you guys that you want us to talk about this and tell you a bit more about how to successfully navigate the UAE job market, especially now with all the changes that are happening. So we're in Q3 2025. We've seen a lot of change happen this year. We pinned it down to 3 main catalysts. First of all, there's AI that has come in and changed the market completely in many ways. We also see a lot of growth in some sectors, and others are slowing down. So we want to see what's growing, where's the opportunity, how you can position yourself. And also we're seeing an influx of people getting to Dubai, a lot of expats from all around the world that are trying to get here, which are making this market a lot more competitive. And so we want to break down how this trio is changing the job market. And we want to give you some tools to position yourself in this market and understand exactly how to land that job in Dubai. And we're going to approach this topic from 3 perspectives because it's such a big one. So Mandy and I are going to reflect the education sector. Our backgrounds are in this space. I started in recruitment. Now, we both work at Holt International Business School, so we work with a lot of students who are very early on in their careers and want to know how to position themselves when they speak to recruiters.
And a large part of my role is coaching and advising the students on career strategy. So we really want to bring some of that into the podcast as well, just so it's no longer a secret just for the classroom, and that everybody can use the tips and things that we're sharing on a daily basis.
And to complement our perspectives, we also have 2 amazing guests with us here today in the studio. I'm not sure if you can see us. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll be able to see. If not, you should dial in. So we've got Tala. She's a regional talent and learning manager at Ferrero. Tala's already got over 2 decades of experience in talent management, in recruitment, and in training. So she's going to tell us everything about corporate and what she looks for when she hires. And then we also have Ellie Bichara. He's a principal talent insights consultant at LinkedIn. He's got over 10 years of experience in consulting. He works with a lot of companies that are trying to understand the trends. And also LinkedIn is the main platform where people look for jobs. So he's going to tell us a bit about what we can expect from the platform and also how to use it to the best of your capabilities so that it becomes a strength and an advantage for you. So welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for being with us today. How are you doing?
Good.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Energized.
Yes, fantastic. I'm glad because we really want to pick your brains today. So let's get straight into it. So I mentioned earlier a little bit that I would call myself a career strategist. I think we both are in a lot of ways. And in our day-to-day jobs, we're always giving students insights on what we think would work really best based on the experience that we've had from, working as a talent acquisition person myself for many years, in the recruitment industry. And we're always kind of upskilling ourselves and, networking and getting insights from employer partners that we have or is within the classroom from our faculty and things like that. So we're always building our knowledge in this space. And the primary thing that I would say I share is that to tap into the hidden job market. It's what you don't see online. And I know for you, Ellie, working at LinkedIn, you might be like, why is she saying that for? And the reason we do that is because it's quite saturated in this market specifically.
Yeah.
So a lot of students come to us and they see jobs and they think LinkedIn is the primary source. And, you know, there's up to 1,200 applications for one job, which is a lot.
Too much.
By any means. And the playbook I give them is to tap into the hidden job market. I just wondered, what playbook would you give them to navigate LinkedIn when you see a role that has 1,200 applications?
Something very similar. I think I read somewhere a recruiter said, or on another podcast actually, that applying only to a job and doing nothing else should be your last resort.
Absolutely.
Like you shouldn't just apply and be passive about it. Sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't. And especially, like you said, when it's saturated. You have thousands of applicants on one job. If anything, doing more than that and being active will actually help the recruiter, you know, not only yourself in being selected for interview, but actually help the recruiter and make their life easier. So definitely network. And when we say network, it's try to reach out potentially to the hiring manager, to the recruiter or the sourcer on that job, you know. You can also, of course, apply in parallel, but tell them I applied, I'm interested, those are my skills, you know, customize the approach and try to find maybe some commonalities with those people. Maybe they did the same school, you know, maybe they speak the same language, maybe they come from the same country, they work in the same city. This would also potentially help in them answering you, you know. So I would say definitely
affiliation.
Exactly. Be active about the way you are searching for a job. This is the way you're gonna have also an answer. And again, think about the recruiter, like they're getting 1,000 application. Yeah. You are making their life also easier if you stand out, right? And you are active about it, and they would probably answer you.
Yeah, 100%. I remember from my recruitment days, especially when there's like a large volume of applications, it's so hard to keep on track of everyone and everything. So when someone kind of makes themselves a little bit more visible, they become the top of the pile and you're like, okay, actually, let me deal with this person first almost. Tala, I don't know, do you have the same experience?
Yeah, well, I can speak from the experience that you mentioned, but as well today, the market has changed because today as well, the system has AI. So it's not only the recruiter that's filtering, it's actually a system that's filtering keywords, filtering experience, filtering if that person has internships. And this is important because, you know, as a candidate, you might say, okay, I'm sending the CV. If I send 100 applications, mass applications, it doesn't work anymore. And I've read somewhere, it's like sending confetti into the wind, right? It's not going to land anywhere. So it's very important to bank on what Ellie is saying. One, you have to make sure your application is tailored. So you have to make sure you read the job description. Like if a job requires, I don't know, industrial engineer, and you have a business degree, you're going to be filtered out immediately. So you're going to wonder why I didn't receive any response. It's because you have to read the job description. You have to read what are the requirements. And as well, you have to add to your profile the things that are actually, I'm going to say, practical, so that make an impact. Because what we want to see as well, someone who's done internships, they've done maybe volunteering work, they've done projects, and I think some of the questions that might come up is around, okay, what else can be there on our CV to make us stand out? And these are things that students nowadays can bring to the table and they can show in their application. And sometimes it stands out when you have a CV that has this kind of, you know, projects, someone who maybe was playing in a basketball team or part of the sports team, and they were captain in that team. This brings value because this person shows a little bit of, you know, working first teamwork, showing as well some leadership skills. And these are important. So this is the first phase, I would say, followed by what Ellie has mentioned. I think having a follow-up even on LinkedIn, a small message to the recruiter, sometimes to the hiring manager, could be beneficial.
And I think there's an apprehension of people being scared to do that because they're like, we're not connected, they don't know me. But I always encourage them to do it anyway because I think actually that's how you're going to get more visibility. What are your thoughts when someone I don't want to use the word random, but you know, if you're not connected with that person and they reach out to you, like what makes you respond to them? Actually, I think is the question I would like to ask. What incentivizes you to respond to them?
No, that's a good question. I think in our nature as recruiters, we're used to have a lot of messages, and we spend time replying to those messages. It's a lot of messages sometimes. But I think a few things stand out when it's really, it doesn't look like it's, someone copy-pasted a message. It's AI generated.
You can tell straight away.
ChatGPT generated, you can tell. Sometimes it's nice because what draws my attention sometimes if someone says, I really like your experience, or I saw you worked with this company, right? So this means this person at least read my profile and has actually something a little bit personal to say, and that stands out. And I think, and to add as well, we receive more from experienced candidates. I think less of students and less of graduates, they reach out on LinkedIn. So I would encourage them to actually be more active on messaging on LinkedIn. But that's my experience because I see more coming from people who are more maybe confident to send messages, and students would think, maybe I shouldn't message. It's not proper or it's not the right way. I think it's the right way. When you are looking for a job, you have to be vocal and present.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for reinforcing that message.
On the copy-paste once I got, I would love to work at Google, your company is amazing. And I answered, I said, sorry, it was a bad luck, you copy-paste the message. I work at LinkedIn,
And it's so simple, but it's make or break. That could be the difference between you getting the perfect job and not, because someone just disregarded because you didn't pay attention or you didn't address the person correctly because you were just literally, we have this term in the UK called spray and pray. So it's a bit like the confetti.
It's exactly that.
This question is to both of you actually. Have you noticed a candidate surge in the last year from global expats? And do you think, based on the data and what you've experienced, that employers in this region, particularly the UAE, expect the perfect profile because they can have it?
The employer would expect, if they can, if there is an opportunity to find the perfect profile, which is, sometimes it looks like there will be a perfect profile. There's never a perfect profile. It depends on few criteria. And I think it depends on the speed of hiring, what the employer is looking to do in terms of, do I want to hire from the job market, or actually I'm looking to opening this for relocation because I'm looking for a specific niche skill set that does not exist perhaps in the local market. On the other hand, in many cases, we do require, or employer would look for local experience, for experience that's relevant, where there's market relevancy, there is regional experience, and sometimes because the markets are different, if you are working from a business perspective, you really need to understand the market. So employers are more selective when they are going as well to relocate someone for a job, especially if already the profiles, the skill set, the competencies are available in the local market. I think that we would rather, as an employer, go and look and hire from the local market because it already exists here.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
So I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, no, you did. And when I put myself in the shoes of an MBA student, they come to us with experience, maybe anything between sort of like 6 to 10 to 15 years experience in the industry. And maybe they, worked in sales for a long time and they were kind of stuck in that function and they're doing the MBA because they want a more holistic view of business. And then, they spent a year in Dubai studying with us. And on the end of it, they're like, right, I'm ready to get into the market. But although they've been here and they've immersed themselves into the market, they haven't got technically the local expertise of working, commercial experience in the market. So they struggle from that perspective. And I just wonder, what's in order of preference would you say is the priority? Is it the expertise or is it the local experience? Because technically they feel like they have both, but then they struggle to get in, to enter.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I would say it depends on the role itself. If it is a technical role, then I would say the expertise would take priority. If it's a role that could be commercial in nature, let's say, or I don't know, a marketing kind of role, the local experience would become relevant because I want them to understand how the market works. And I want to make sure, especially if it's an experienced kind of role that we are talking about, not a fresh grad kind of position, then I would rather look for the local experience. And ideally would be the blend of both, if that's possible, right? Sorry, I don't know if you want to add.
No, I completely agree. I think it's a very complex market, so it depends if you can afford to have someone super technical from outside the region. And like you said, you don't need maybe client-facing skills or understanding the market yourself, then perfect, you can go outside. But if you really need someone that understands how it works already here, you should go here and hire. And then most of the recruiters here, like you said, because it's such a competitive market, they have the choice. So they almost get to choose if they want to only look at it locally or go ahead and go abroad to search for some expats.
Yeah. And we always encourage our students, no matter what level, to maybe just, and we say, use the word internship because everybody knows what internship means, but just to, whilst they're studying, to just add on that local expertise because it's going to just amplify your profile times 10.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There is a bit of apprehension, I think, at the beginning when you aren't a junior profile to be like, why am I still doing an internship? But I think it does add so much value. You learn so much and then you're ready to enter into the workforce.
And you can also show what you can do.
Exactly.
So we have a lot of partnerships where we allow our students to get out of campus, go out there and network throughout their degree with us. So when graduation comes and they're looking to pivot into either a new role or a new industry, they hopefully would have already met some people that know them personally. They would have had some conversations.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so what we see here a lot of the times is employers are much more willing to take a risk on someone who hasn't done the job before, on someone who's pivoting, if they've met you in person, if they've had a conversation, they have that human connection. In the age of AI, I think human connection is so important. And that goes back to what you both were saying about networking at the beginning. So when you're looking to pivot here, you really have to get yourself out there beyond the platforms, in person, meet people, leave your human footprint on the person on the receiving end, and they will remember you 10 times better that way.
And to add to this as well, it might not just be internships. Sometimes you have a contract role, maternity replacement.
Exactly.
And this is an opportunity to take on actually a role that, you know, is an added value to someone who wants to add to their experience. So I think people need to consider as well roles, and I think this is the market, how it navigates. Roles that are contractual in nature. Sometimes some companies could be looking for someone for a short term on freelancing basis. So keeping an open mind about what kind of projects or a kind of contracts can help really to navigate the job market.
Perfect. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. All right. So let's look a little bit at the opportunity that is being created right now, because we talk a lot about AI. In most of our episodes, we look at how AI is infusing different industries, different roles, and how it's changing things. And now the job market globally is being shaken up by AI, and everyone's talking about the job apocalypse and just how much of our work is being replaced or automated now with agents, which have just dropped, which has most of us fascinated. So I guess if we zoom out a little bit and we look at the maths, AI is projected to add an additional $16 trillion to the global GDP in the next 5 years, which is huge. And that creates a lot of opportunity. At the same time, PwC, the World Economic Forum, say that at least 25% of the existing jobs, as we know them, will be affected globally. Now, if we zoom in a little bit on the Middle East, some reports are saying that 75% of all companies are looking to adopt AI immediately. A lot of people are really optimistic about the impact. I think a lot of us are seeing AI just facilitating and speeding things up for us in terms of how we do our work. But 65% of the people in the Middle East that have been involved in this survey said that they actually fear losing their jobs to AI. So we just want to pause there a little bit, especially as we think about the younger generations that are coming into this market where the entry-level work is being more and more automated. So arguably there's a higher threat for them of being replaced or displaced by AI. We want to focus a little bit on the positive side and just try to understand what opportunity is being created in the Middle East, in the UAE specifically, what sectors are growing, where is AI infusing a lot of opportunity for people?
To be honest, yes, I think everybody's scared, by losing their job to AI, not only in the Middle East, this is for sure. However, I think the way we are seeing it, and we see it on LinkedIn and through also our reports, is that you will need somehow to pivot your skills. So your job might actually not be lost, but just evolve in a way. And maybe the young generation or the people still studying have that edge in the sense that they're still studying. They can also leverage those skills in order to enter the job market, versus someone that has been doing their job or their own job for like 20 years and then they have to upskill themselves or reskill, which also is possible, but maybe harder. For sure, AI is coming in strong in the UAE and the Middle East, and you have a lot of jobs, very technical, software engineer, machine learning engineer, etc., etc. Those are the classic ones, booming. But what is interesting is that it's not only that. You have non-technical or pure technical roles related to AI that are also booming, and some with junior also experience, I would say. For example, everything related to prompt engineering that is slightly less technical, or data visualization. Because think about it, if now AI is taking kind of the skill that you use, or exactly what you used to take a lot of time for you to maybe analyze, etc. Now you can spend it on other things such as data visualization, data storytelling, right? Because how you tell a story based on the data, right? How you present it, presentation skills, etc. So all those a bit less technical skills, but are still needed because AI is actually coming, and so the human would, or rather the AI would complement the human on this side. And this is why I believe, and we are seeing the numbers, that not all jobs will disappear. It's a pivot, I think.
Tala, what are you saying?
No, definitely. And I think I've seen it somewhere where it says, so AI is not replacing you, but you're being replaced by someone who knows AI.
Exactly.
So basically the message is that you need to consider, and AI maybe is a very big, I think, generic term. But I think you need to consider that AI is like a language. So this is a language that you need to learn, that is becoming what we do in our day-to-day tools, using our tools, using our to improve our processes, etc. And I think it's really about more the tech fluency in this case when it comes to what you really need to gain as you enter the job market, because you need to understand how the tools are able to navigate the business processes, how you're able to maybe find or problem solve, find a solution to a business problem, let's say, as an example. And that's a way to simplify things, because sometimes it's a bit overwhelming. You say, okay, you need to know AI, and then you're going and applying for jobs and you think you don't have the AI skills, or what kind of AI skills I need to gain to enter the job market. It depends really on the roles that you are navigating. So if it is, let's say, marketing, you need to start thinking about AI augmented marketing in terms of, okay, how can I work on, optimization of my ads? How can I work on content? How can I understand a little bit how AI is affecting the market, the consumer? And in this case, what you're bringing to the table is I'm going to say the critical thinking in the situation. So how I'm a new joiner, I'm a new hire, and I want to prove to the organization that I have some skills that are really, that are adding value to the team. I would bring as well what I have learned from school, from university. I might have done some certifications here and there, right? So a lot of micro-learning now is available to people. I added because now I can show to the employer I have the certification, because maybe all the other colleagues who have been in the company for 5-7 years don't have the certification. They have been doing traditional marketing in this case. However, if you are bringing this extra added value, let's not forget, it's new to everyone. So it's not like you're bringing to the table, your manager is going to know 10 years ahead of you. This is something that is very new to the market. And I think the idea is to keep learning. You're learning it on the go. Then you bring your critical thinking to the situation. And that's, I think, tech fluency. So you understand how the tool, the AI, works to your advantage to optimize the process, to help the team, to impact the business. And I think this is how my perspective
100%.
is on this.
Yeah.
And I see, to add as well to, I was reading about this as well, part of the conversation. I think I've seen a lot of related to data labeling, and I've seen there's a shortage, for example, if you are an Arabic speaker, there's a shortage for Arabic speakers in this industry because in the data labeling for AI, there is less content for Arabic language. So if you are an Arabic speaker, this is an added value to bring into even it's an entry role that will allow you to, even if you don't know coding, it's not a tech role, but at least you can bring your experience and your language, it's a simple thing, to data labeling as an example. To add as well, I think today we see a lot about AI ethics. So I think a lot of roles are going to get generated for AI regulations, and we will see as well upcoming. And I think as well in marketing, we spoke about AI augmented marketing. This is definitely happening in sales, in supply chain, digital supply chain analysis. This is all becoming very techy, very digital, and data analysis, which is very important. So I think we're going to see more of these roles getting created that did not exist like yesterday. And it was the case for us when we entered the job market. We were in roles that did not exist like, I don't know, 10 years in the past. There's always, it's evolving. This is, I think, a human evolution. And I don't think we should be really scared of it. We should just know how to embrace it the right way, hone on our skills, as you mentioned, upskilling, even for the current employee population or the current people who are in the market. You need to as well get yourself the credentials, the micro-learning that you need to do to as well keep yourself up to date with the market. That's my take on this.
I really liked what you said, because I also believe that it's almost like a ground zero at the moment. There's going to be, considering how fast AI has been implemented, that ground zero window is quite small, but we're still there at the moment where everybody's kind of learning it at the same time. There's a bit of an opportunity there as well, I think. Also.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's not only technical roles, like Tala just gave billion examples of AI-related roles that are
just
not
everywhere.
It's because, like you said, AI is very vast. People get scared, but it's not only about developers, it's not about coding, it's not about your software skills. It's all of those other skills related to AI that are creating roles that have nothing to do with the engineering sometimes, So
yeah, 100%. I think we're looking at AI literacy. We talk a lot about it. And what Mandy said is, I think AI is the great equalizer in a way. We talked about that in a different episode where we said, there's a big threat on young people because they don't have the experience. They don't know what good looks like without AI, and we see that a lot. Sometimes our students or people in general who apply for jobs without really discerning what is a good LinkedIn message. AI will generate something, and because it's the only thing you'll think it's actually really great. So you're just going to go for it. So we think this generation really needs to work on their critical skills, and they need to ask around, and they need to understand what does good look like. Correct. And we know that naturally because we came in before, we knew that. But also, they have an advantage where they can keep up and they can speed up. They can learn so much faster. What it took me 5 years to learn, they can learn in 3 months through prompting, through AI. They have access to the world's full library of information, and it can be distilled and refined, and it's at their fingertip. So that's what I mean by the big equalizer. I was talking to a friend of mine who is around my level, so he has about 15 years of work experience. He works in finance, and he was telling me he hasn't started using AI in his work, but a lot of the juniors are. And so I said, you're going to have to keep up with them because they're going to get ahead of you, because it might seem like AI is a bit shallow at the moment, and ChatGPT, the first few versions, they're not very good, and you know better. But it's only a matter of time until the models will become way stronger than what you as a human can produce alone. So you have to get there. So I think there's a huge shift that's happening. And sometimes we ask, is AI going to cause the death of the generalist? Because if everyone has access to generalist information through AI, is what's happening with the mid-range professional who has acquired that experience? I would love to hear your opinion on this. Are we going to have to become much more specialized in one area in order to beat AI to what we've seen directly in the market through working with people? Because AI can pull that information from the world, but it doesn't know how consulting in the Middle East working with this government official, what that's about. What do you guys think?
I think personally that AI, if you prompt it in the right way, could be actually a specialist better than you as well. So I don't think that the specialist is covered or is fine and the journalist is not. Because, and you can see it, of course, ChatGPT, for example, the first version would sometimes give you answers that are not that correct. But if you know how to answer back, if you ask to check, if you go through different sources, or you are very specific in your prompt, you might be surprised. They might give you answers that would be better than any, maybe very strong specialist. So why am I saying this? Is because I think both specialists and journalists will still be needed, because it's also all about context, right? Taking the data and tell a story with it, human interaction, for example. I think all those skills that are still very human, will require a human, actually, or a person to extract all this data or this information and actually do the job. So this is my opinion. I think journalist or a specialist this is what you were saying, will need to do the job a bit differently. But I don't think that it's the end of the journalist and the specialist is like, okay, I got this covered. It's like you said, this finance person that for example, might be very specialized on their finance thing, but you have juniors that are now doing also and using AI. So I think no one is safe. We all need to evolve somehow, to be honest.
In my opinion, on this specific topic, I think that most probably we'll see the differentiation of the, let's say, the definition of a generalist. So I see that you have the specialist, but you as a generalist, you need to be specialized in many different things. So it's not a very shallow generalist. You need to be a COE, which is like you have to be, the center of expertise in a specific area. But then it's multiple area, because the generalist is, I think, will become more on the leadership side, having the overview in terms of, managing the organization, managing the teams, etc. Because it's very difficult, as you mentioned, the generalist, you will have the AI doing some of these parts. It could be administrative in nature, it could be operational in nature, but then when you mentioned about when you are actually challenging ChatGPT and they are specialized, it's because you are prompting this.
True.
So this is your specialty. And I think this is why they are specialized, because it is the specialist that is actually navigating this. And I think for a successful generalist, you need to be strong specialist in multiple areas. So you need to be versatile, have versatile skills that will allow you to stay a strong generalist. Otherwise, I think those roles will change, evolve with time, will not remain as they are for sure with the presence of AI.
Yeah, so everyone needs to go do an MBA as soon as possible.
Develop those leadership skills.
Develop the leadership skills.
The
and
authentic leader.
Critical thinking, problem solving.
100%.
I think these are really soft skills related to leadership skills that you really would differentiate one person from the other.
And I think when it comes to leadership, you can learn about it. And obviously when you do an MBA or you're kind of doing your micro credentials, you can learn the concepts, but it is actually the application which gives you the real learning. So you need to be able to execute on that. And I don't think AI is going to be able to teach you. It'll be able to tell you how to do it, but you as a leader, to be a good leader, you'll have to put it into practice. And I don't think AI can do that for you. So I think that's maybe a little lane that we've discovered.
And let's not forget, I think many other components are important. So communication skills, interpersonal skills. I think emotional intelligence will become more and more important as we navigate the new landscape, because you need to have the empathy, you need to have the emotional intelligence that to navigate this AI environment, let's put it this way, and to let's say differentiate yourself as well from the other leaders is your presence, your communication skills, the way that you are leading with empathy as well.
Absolutely.
And with inclusivity, that's becoming more and more important. So I don't want to not put these as well as part
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the, let's say, soft skills that are, I think, the required for the leadership skills to remain.
And speaking of that, Ellie, you mentioned something that if you use AI well, you can create and learn anything, pretty much. That's what I heard. And almost. And so just turning towards LinkedIn now, we're seeing a lot of content being created. We see a lot of people posting a lot of things. And like we said at the beginning, you can easily spot when people have just put 3 sentences to GPT and now they've got a full essay and then they just plop it out there. So the question is, has content actually increased on LinkedIn since generative AI dropped on the market? Can you tell us a bit about the inside information there? And then what's engagement looking like in this era of a lot of content?
Good transition, by the way. AI posting on LinkedIn. Yes, you're right, because a lot of people, like you can tell and you feel it's AI generated, etc. Now, something interesting about the algorithm of LinkedIn, and I don't work on it, so this is more like what we hear, etc. And also what the leadership is saying is that it was always built to focus and to encourage someone genuine. So when you tell a story, whether it's personal or professional, but to be genuine. And so this is interesting because then if you copy paste something that ChatGPT gave you, it's not that genuine anymore, right? What we see, yes, the content is definitely booming. You have a lot that is super AI generated. Now, I'm not going to lie and tell you should continue to post the old ways. You should not use AI. This is not true. And we all, I think, somehow use a bit AI to help us post and not to post instead of us. So what I mean is that use ChatGPT if you need, use AI, use Copilot, whatever, but then still bring your genuine touch. Customize your post, rework some versions if you absolutely want to do it with AI. Rework on some versions, tell them exactly where you want to go. And then you will have this human touch, this person that is actually genuine, posting that post. Now, about the content itself, we have a lot of stuff that we are seeing also work. You mentioned video podcast, right? Videos on LinkedIn are booming as well. So again, when you're posting a video, most probably it's yourself or you are filming or someone is filming you. It's not that much only copy paste from ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting because it still brings this personal touch as well. And video is booming, picture is booming as well. I heard somewhere that if you only generate pictures through ChatGPT, it will do less good than your personal picture, for example. Again, without being cheesy or tacky. But so I think the human touch, even if you are using AI, is super important when you post. And definitely the algorithm will take that into consideration.
So the algorithm can actually tell the difference between human-generated content and AI-generated content.
So I don't think it will tell you like black or white, this is AI or this is human. But if it's super generic, super AI, dry, etc., it will not be boosted versus another one that is a bit more genuine again and customized and human. Now, if someone did an amazing job on ChatGPT and did the post that is still genuine, this would be considered as genuine. Right. But at least you have the human touch, regardless of who really wrote that post.
Authenticity is key.
Exactly.
I think this is something we push a lot because students, especially the younger ones, they don't, I think, Tala, you mentioned something at the beginning as well, like they don't recognize what value looks like. And I believe there's value in everything. So if you've played sports, I think that's amazing. Yeah. If you knit on the weekend, I also think that's really cool. If you play an instrument, there's so many things in that drives authenticity. And I think everybody feels like they need to portray themselves as like super corporate, polished. They need to write at least 4 paragraphs, the hashtags at the bottom,
exactly.
The emojis on the side. And I'm like, okay, personally, as someone who spends a lot of time on LinkedIn, I'd say I'm on the platform every day, that you see these posts consistently. And I wouldn't say I'm reading each one meticulously because they're all starting to sound the same. And
exactly.
If they are 4 paragraphs long, I don't think I've got time to invest in that either. And sometimes I do actually think less is more a little bit. And actually, I'd rather see people being their genuine, authentic selves and having something actually insightful and interesting to say from a young perspective, because that's also refreshing for us too. We need to know what's going on in their minds as well, right? So I think it's really glad that we've kind of identified that.
But you're right.
People are going to be happy to hear it.
And yes, and I just want to add to what you mentioned that there's a lot of noise now on LinkedIn because of that. So people generating text super easily with AI, posting it. So it's like you said, imagine you are scrolling and which one will actually, catch your eye or your attention. It's definitely not the one that is super dry, 4 paragraphs,
Exactly.
etc. So for sure.
I see a lot of resources, which I like. Guides on and lists of things. So it helps me. So you can tell when and where people have spent time. Creating value for their network. So I engage with that. That's cool.
Exactly.
So a large part of what we do as educators is now, as the younger generations are coming into the classroom, I think us ourselves particularly, we've had a bit of a learning journey over the last 2 years. So we've really had to think about, when it comes to Gen Z specifically, how we are working with them, because it was a bit of an experience, because we were doing education a certain way and then it just stopped. It hit a bit of a brick wall, actually. It just stopped resonating at some point, and we just couldn't understand why it wasn't working. And then we were like, it's them, it's not us. And then we were like, actually, we really need to meet them halfway if we want this to work, we want this experience to work.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Gen Z, what skills gaps are you seeing? Because we really felt like it was our responsibility to kind of meet them halfway, to understand how do they learn. I know myself, I'm in the classroom and I'm teaching classes that are like 2-3 hours long in some instances. And this happened quite recently in like January time. And basically I delivered a 2-hour class on storytelling, of all things. And I was really animated. I tried to make it really exciting. I tried to put in some content that I thought they were going to connect to. I really went for it, because I was like, this actually is a fun thing to teach. Yeah. And I had the 2 hours, I was faced with the Gen Z stare, for example, and I couldn't understand it. And I was like, I think I'm doing a good job. I got really inside my head. I was like, I think I'm doing a good job. I think it's fun. I even thought I was being quite funny as well at some parts, but I was being like, the response that I was getting was this kind of blank stare. And I didn't know, it's got a term now. I don't think it had one back then in January.
Are you guys familiar with the Gen Z style?
I heard it recently.
Okay, fair. I think we've all seen it.
And there's like a couple of characteristics that we've witnessed over specifically over the course of the last 2 years. I think Gen Z says one of them. I think using their voice, speaking up in front of others, like public speaking is another one. Receiving instructions like in black and white. The grey areas kind of gone a little bit. So these are just a couple of things that we've noticed. And when it comes to them now entering into the workforce, this is why we felt like we had to meet them halfway, especially in the roles that we do, because we want them to have success and we want them to succeed. And just kind of saying, this is how we do it, so you should do it this way, I don't necessarily think works with them particularly well. So we really had to kind of innovate and adapt. And what are you guys seeing? Where do you think the gap is for them right now? And where should they put their energy maybe to meet whoever they're going to be reporting into halfway?
I think the communication is key, because one of the things that the struggle is I would say the hierarchy integration. So I think the Gen Z is already struggling to get into the hierarchy of companies, of, this is how the org is, this is your line manager, this is how the work is, which is, you have an accountability, you have deadlines, you have things to commit to as a graduate, as an employee as well of this organization. And I think what happens is that a lot of it is that the Gen Z is expecting to enter the workforce, to have maybe the same experience they could have when they were at university, and sometimes it's at home with the parents. It's a different parenting style that we're seeing as well. And now we have to remember that the line managers are now the millennials generation. So this is the gap where the millennials have a different way of working. I would mainly think business communication is one of the things. And as you mentioned so rightly, Mandy, in terms of dealing with ambiguity, right? So today, I think the Gen Z struggles with dealing with ambiguity itself. And this is something that used to be a competency that you are looking for, because you are navigating large multinationals sometimes, and you need to manage something while dealing with ambiguity. You don't have all the data,
Yeah.
but you need to find a way to make things happen, right? And today is not the case. So today is not the case, and I think the new generation that's entering the workforce need to make sure that they're communicating properly with their line managers on what are the expectations, how to navigate this. This is how I see it, or this is how we kind of experienced it as well. And I think as well, part of it is ensuring, and I think the expectation on some flexibility with the work style, right, that Gen Z is looking for. And I think our line managers, maybe not all line managers or companies, are really ready for that yet.
Yeah.
And this is where you have collusion, if that's the
Collusion,
word to use. And I think if we are to look at those specific soft skills, it's more than enough for now, because if you come with having worked on the communication skills and maybe being able to deal with ambiguity and being able to communicate the expectations, what's expected from you, and as well express yourself in terms of, okay, how you work, how you have been working, and how you can improve, because your line manager is here to as well help you to navigate the corporate world. Because I think one of the things that are happening now is the integration to workplaces, which is one of the gaps that we are seeing as well with the employers. So I would say this would be the top of mind for me now.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. And I would add on a complementary topic what you said. It was interesting. You mentioned that their priorities are different. And this is what also the LinkedIn data is showing us. Like someone maybe 10 years ago, compensation benefits was the number one important thing when you are looking for or when you are joining a job. But what we notice now, for example, with Gen Z is that you have other priorities. Having an impact, for example, on the world, being very flexible, in terms of work arrangement, hybrid versus remote versus really come back to the office. Other things like upskilling, because they don't want to be bored. Like you mentioned, like your 2-hour lecture, I'm sure it was amazing, but the problem was that it was 2 hours. Maybe this was the problem.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so how to be upskilled constantly in search of challenges at work, etc. And all those that I'm now mentioning come actually, what we see in our data, they come before compensation and benefits.
Yeah.
Correct.
And sometimes only number 4 or 5,
Especially because
impressive.
these guys are the COVID generation as well, right? Like they know what remote working looks like. They observed it for a long period of time, and then obviously we were reading the Financial Times earlier, and then it said PwC have implemented a traffic light system to monitor if their employees are, how often their employees are in the workplace, and things like that. I could see are a deterrent to this generation, because also their attention spans are short, but also they want a little bit of freedom as well, and trust, and all these things. So I feel like, do you think it's time for corporate culture to change and adapt to Gen Z? Do you think that's a step in the right direction? I personally do.
For sure.
As a millennial, I'm like, fight for us.
No. I think for sure there would be. It's not that we will have the choice, to be honest.
Exactly.
I think we will have to adapt, and I think it, as you mentioned, it has to be midway. So a change in the behavior of line managers and the change in the behaviors that we are seeing. But I think the corporate life will see a change in the workplace cultures. That's for sure. Yeah. So I definitely see this as part of the future.
Yeah,
and not only because of Gen Z, but because of COVID, because of AI. Workplace has to adapt for sure. Yeah. Otherwise, you will go to another company that has adapted and not to this company.
It's like everything's disrupting except for this concept of 9 to 5 regime. It's like pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I think we had a break, like you guys all mentioned, during COVID. And I think all of us, not just Gen Z, we all got a taste of what life would be like if we had a bit more flexibility. And now being forced to go back to that very strict regime, I don't think that sits well with any of us, including millennials. But I think Gen Z, they come in really powerful and really united. I think for the first time, so I have to give them kudos for that. I think as a generation, they really stand up, and they're not playing by the old rules. So I don't know if you guys have seen that a few months ago. There were these videos from Europe, from large consulting companies. I'm not going to name them, but they were their vice president residents were doing these TikTok-style videos, trying to lure a lot of Gen Zs to apply for their graduate schemes. And then when we started talking to some of our contacts, not just within consulting, but large FMCG companies, they were all saying that their volumes of applications had gone down, and that this generation is simply not fighting for a place in corporate. Now, at the same time, with AI coming in, a lot of those graduate roles are also being cut out. So it's just like we're just in a transition phase. And I think it's time for both sides to rethink what they're giving and what they're asking for. And I think this is a moment for all of us to think about the future of work in completely different terms, which for me, at least, it seems has human centrality right in the middle. And it's more about the person that does the work, augmented by this agent that supports it, so the person makes the decisions. And so when and how and where that person makes the decisions from becomes less important, but making the right decisions for the future of the company becomes the central point. Because I think there's also the other area where I'll speak for myself. When I was at uni, I was a night owl. I was in the UK, there was this expression. So I used to work at my absolute best at 9. So between midnight and 4 a.m., peak creativity.
Creative.
I did most of my essays. I'm not proud.
It's when the bar closes, basically.
Right, basically, straight from the pub at home to do my homework. And really, not to brag, I graduated with a first. So it worked for me. And then I had to adjust as a millennial to the workforce schedule of wake up at 7 a.m., be in the office by 8:30, do the whole thing. And it took me a couple of years to rewire my brain to work in that mode. Yeah. And I really did think if I had the flexibility to work late at night, I could do a much better job. And I feel like Gen Z are coming in there saying, we want to work not just late at night, but we want to work from Bali. We can be digital nomads. We can work across different projects. We are multicultural. So I'm really seeing a lot of that coming from their sides. I feel like we can all start rethinking what we expect from them and what we offer them to do their very best work. Okay, so to wrap this up and give some practical tools and advice, which is what we promised at the beginning, I'm going to ask you both to do a little challenge. So think of yourselves as a graduate. Now, Tala, I want you to be an MBA graduate who has 5 years of work experience, and let's say you're coming from a marketing background and you want to pivot into finance. Right? So you want to be an analyst. I know you're making a big shift. So, okay, so you're an MBA, you want to pivot, and you want to stay in Dubai. What are you doing to reach the absolute best success in the first days after your graduation?
Okay, big question.
Yes.
Just a few minutes.
Three things that you're going to absolutely focus on.
3 things, okay. So I think number 1, I'm gonna definitely update my CV, my profile, and especially because I want to shift to finance. So what I want to showcase on my profile is actually that side of me when it comes to the projects I've worked on. Marketeers are very big on budgets. This means as well being able to work on the analytical side of things. So I would like to focus on this. So I will definitely update my profile, my CV, to match not what my experience was, but to take on those, I would say, transferable skills for my future job. That's 1. Number 2, I'll definitely go to that first. I will circle back to the first question about networking. Definitely networking. I definitely do need to attend a lot of events because there is a lot of events in Dubai. That's the beauty of living in Dubai and in the UAE. There's a lot of events in all the industries. So I would choose the ones that are relevant to the jobs that I want to headhunt or to hunt. Then I would attend those kind of events, make myself visible, meet as much as possible people who are actually in the field. And to be honest, number 3, if I am behind the let's say the screen, I would use the different platforms that exist. So I know that there's LinkedIn, there's other than LinkedIn as well, that I will definitely tap into. But if I am to go into LinkedIn, I will look at different companies that are maybe I want to target, and I will look at the potential hiring managers or recruiting teams or HR professionals that work into this industry. And I will message them very politely. I'll share my profile, and I will showcase with some sort, I wouldn't say a full cover letter, but I will have a cover letter that say, I am shifting. So I've done my MBA. These are my skills, transferable skills, and I'm interested to move into finance, into roles where maybe not many people are looking to move into. So I am an extra maybe talent that is not really made available in the market. And I do understand marketing. So as a finance, I can understand the business as well, right? So I need to showcase this to the potential employer. But I think most importantly is reaching out to the hiring managers, to the line managers, connecting to them. Maybe if it's not immediate, it might be an opening in the next 2 or 3 months. So this is a lead. This is 3 months from now.
Planting
and I need
seeds.
to think a little bit upfront. So I'll do these 3 things. I hope this helps.
No, it's fantastic.
Amazing.
That was a perfect answer as
That's
well.
exactly what I would have said. Awesome. And Ellie, you are a junior person. So you've got an internship experience and you had your own business for a few months and you've done a master's in business and now you want to go into consulting. 3 things you're doing in 30 days.
So first, I would challenge your question saying that you should start way before. It's not only in the 30 days just before graduating.
Excellent. That
Right?
was okay.
This is like very late.
Extra 10 points.
Thank you. No, you should really, jokes aside, you should start since day one of your master's.
Yeah,
if
true.
it's 2 years, even better. You have 2 years. If it's 1 year, okay. And very similar to what Tala mentioned, to build your network because it takes time. This is why I say 30 days is nothing. You have to, if you are talking about LinkedIn, you have to add people. They might accept you or not. You have to reach out to them. You have to customize the messaging. You might do calls with them if they accept to talk to you. You have to go to events. All this takes way more than 30 days. But yeah, I would say number one, update not only my CV but my LinkedIn profile. And when I say update my LinkedIn profile, it's the entire profile. So background picture, skills, languages. People forget about also description, not only the job title, everything. I would really update the whole LinkedIn profile. It shows that you are serious and it shows also your entire self.
And you're discoverable as well, right?
Exactly.
Keyword
exactly.
search, super important.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then people would find you. And then what Tala mentioned again, transferable skills. So going from business to consulting, what does this mean? What are the skills required to be a good consultant? How can I leverage what I'm learning today or I did in my internship to do that? And then highlight them on my LinkedIn profile when I talk to people, etc. And the last thing I want to add is that I completely agree with you to talk to potential future hiring managers. You know, I had a very strong manager at LinkedIn. He was like the expert about the platform. And once he told me something very, very strong, I found it very also enlightening. He said, if you reach out to the hiring manager once the job is already posted, it's already too late. So ideally, you want to talk to people even before the job is posted.
Yeah. And I want to add to bank on this as well. I think there's a magic word when reaching to someone, and this usually catch my attention. If you sometimes start to, I need your advice or I need your help, believe me that people actually, they like to help.
Yeah.
They like, especially if you are a fresh graduate.
They would answer.
They would answer because they like to mentor, they like to coach.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not available for them internally, but they would like, if someone says, I need your help, I think people usually are responsive to those kind of messages.
Especially if you've read your profile and you've mentioned specifically where you think that person can help
Correct,
you.
exactly.
Then I think that's going to give you added leverage for a response over not responding back. And then just last question on the topic of not responding back. So from my recruitment days, I had a system because I also believed what you put out, you'll get back. And when I was in that recruiting, I was the sole recruiter and I was doing all the recruitment for the company. And, you know, there were so many people come through the door all the time and I wasn't able to respond to everybody, but I always made sure that, you know, if we had a conversation or you made an application, if you were successful or not, I'd send an email. It might have been automated, but you get a heads up.
So it's better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And if you'd come for an interview, 100% I'd pick up the phone and I would give you feedback because you've taken the time to come in person, commuted across London to get into that room and have that interview. And I always made sure that I'd give them feedback, positive, negative. Sometimes it was a hard conversation. Sometimes it was a great conversation, but I always felt like if I give this to them, it's going to come back to me in a really positive, karmic way because who knows if our paths are going to cross again in the future. But what I've seen a lot, and we hear it all the time from our students, is feedback is not people are not gifting it as much in this region. And since it's been some time now since I've been in that recruitment role, and I just wonder, is there a culture shift of feedback now when it comes from the application process and the interview process? Because people are going to 2, 3, 4 interviews and then getting no feedback on the end of it. And you can't get better. You can't show up differently in a room if you're actively interviewing with many recruiters at the same time. So I just wonder, what are your thoughts on ghosting?
Very good question. My final thoughts on ghosting is 2 things. One is that, the recruiter is still human at this stage. So they are still there trying to answer everyone that is trying to knock the door or they have interviewed with. And sometimes it's a volume recruitment, so there is a lot of applications, a lot of recruitment. Or sometimes it's a recruiter that's doing other jobs as well. So they are overwhelmed with other activities and they're trying as well to keep up with the tasks. And this is, I think, the shift, because in the past, a recruiter would have maybe a certain amount of volume recruitment. They have time to answer all these candidates, etc. So I think a few things, which is one, if it's not a system that is incorporated within the organization that allows the recruiter to just go and just be able as well to send emails and feedbacks to the candidates, I think mostly would be maybe the position has been put on hold in some cases. Maybe if it's like, for example, now we are in the summer, it might be that people are on leave, either the recruiter or the hiring manager. So this might delay things. You might not have heard feedback. And if you have interviewed, it's okay if you follow up nicely from time to time to say, hey, what is the status of my application? Just to know, if you have interviewed, to know where you stand, if you are making it to the next round or not. But I'm hearing it as well. I'm hearing a lot of people, even with senior roles, that are being ghosted or not having feedback. And I think mostly it could be from, the fact that sometimes if there's no feedback coming from the line manager as well, it's difficult for the recruiter to come back to the candidate and say, you didn't make it. I'm just going to say you didn't make it, but I don't have feedback for you to give it to you because I don't have the feedback from a hiring manager. And I think maybe it's just a change of the way of recruiting because we're now navigating between human recruiting and AI recruiting. So there is a bit of both. We're not yet completely AI and we're not completely just a human. There's a system behind things. So it's not yet perfect, and this is why I think we are seeing a little bit more ghosting than usual.
Okay, that's a good note to end on, I think. I think we could have carried this conversation on for another hour at least. So thank you so much for sharing all your insights, because I think there was a lot of value there. And maybe we'll have to do part 2, who knows?
We'll have to.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
On Gen Z.
So for more business and career insights, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Instagram page. And that's where you'll keep up to date on all the new topics and things that we're going to be covering over the next few months. So thank you, guys. It's been
a
real pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into the For Those Made to Do podcast. We are your hosts, Mandy Sahota
And Bianca Pavel. This podcast is all about the doers who have achieved career success in the UAE and the stories that go with it.